Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the game. It is going to be Twin Peaks this time. The map that KotH was hoping for last time. His Artie's much more effective on Twin Peaks than Duel. It did turn out in the last game that the Arties still overpowered the Archies, as we saw, against Turkleton. Turkleton did concede the fact that the Arties did outdo his Archies. And that was kind of what lost him the game. Minxie unfortunately damaging that Ratchet too much that she does not be able to kill it at the game start. Losing out on all those XP points that it was potential. That, guys, is a little pro tip right there. If you are newer to AirMech and you do not know, what you want to do is you want to damage those units during the pregame. However, if you destroy the units before the game starts, you get no experience points whatsoever for them. What the pros do is they damage them to almost completely destroyed. Basically waiting for that black smoke to start showing up. At that point, they will stop damaging it until after the game starts. Why? Because once the game starts then, they destroy those units, they get full experience points for destroying that neutral unit, but basically no actual game time is devoted to that. And that's why you see a lot of the pro players. That's the reason, if you've ever wondered why do they do it like that, why don't they ever destroy the units during the pregame, that is exactly why. So hopefully for some of you that are maybe a little bit newer to AirMech and didn't know that, and maybe have had that used against you several times, well, maybe now you know, and you will make it so that way they can't use it again. So, you know, hashtag the more you know. Right now, Minx has the left outpost, Pro has the right outpost, but Minxie is in a far worse position right now. She really doesn't have much units out on the battlefield at all, where KotH already has an entire artillery line set up online, ready to go. And it's going to make Minx have to fight just that much harder. That's unfortunately the one drawback with Minxie being in the Neo so close to death. But she does survive, and it's going to be KotH instead that goes down to the light mine. That's right, folks, a light mine. It's too much for KotH to handle. Needs nerf right now. AirMech Council, nerf the light mine because it's too strong, and it killed KotH. And seriously, folks, dude, this is also in a pro-style match here. How one death, even at level 4, where your respawn is fairly quick, can literally start to make or break your game. Minx was able to completely take advantage of KotH's death, pushing in the units, eliminating all the artillery that was there, and is now putting tons of pressure onto this close outpost. KotH trying to pick up his units, trying to gather them up into a single spot, trying to keep them alive, trying to survive with them. But it does look like that Minx, apparently drunk Minx, might turn out to be a better player than regular Minxie is. However, even though she did all that, KotH, using just the striker and the amount of damage it puts out, Minxie dies in the air with that tank in her cargo hold. And this, once again, will go to show exactly what I say, folks, of deaths in games like this with high-level players, how just these short 10, 15, 20-second respawn times can be devastating. Look at KotH right now. He has a complete battle line drawn once again with all types of units in the mix. Flackers, Geminis, artillery, healers, and jammers. And Minx has to once again start from scratch. So everything that Minx had moved forward and taken advantage of and claimed during KotH's death was lost in her death. And unfortunately, in the case of a striker versus a Neo dies much, much faster than a striker does. Minx really has to try to take advantage of all of the special abilities that a Neo has while minimizing its weaknesses to come out on top. Right now, she's got 1 level of armor, 2 levels of cloak, no stasis blast yet, which to me is very curious. Why in a Neo you wouldn't have any level of stasis blast at all? Stasis blast can be very, very beneficial, especially during a push, because you can cloak, you can drop down, you can stasis blast, you slow down the move speed and the shooting speed of those enemy units, giving your units, which maybe are inferior in numbers or unit distribution type, but still gives them a chance to maybe come out on top. Right now, this is coming close to dead even. And what is KotH going to do that might completely break up the whole thing? He is going on a bombing run. He wants that jammer offline. Without that single jammer in the mix, if you don't see it, folks, you need to look right here. That's a jammer. That is his primary target. It is wide open from the front. If KotH can get a tank in here or shoot in himself, there's a big wide area where he actually could take out that jammer. Without that jammer, suddenly those 5 arty cannons will be exactly what we saw the last game. They will obliterate all of MsMinx's lines. She cannot, under any circumstances, lose the jammer, and she needs to try to deal with this artillery as quickly as possible. Otherwise, this game completely goes to KotH. So right now, both these players, they need your love, they need your support. Let's keep the train rolling with the name colors going on. If you're here supporting MsMinx, make your name a shade of green. Show her that love, show her that support. She really needs it right now. And if you're favoring KotH, if maybe you bet on him, and you're supporting KotH, bet on him. MsMinx brings the unit up and just uses that amazing flight speed of the Neo, stays alive, drops down a single tank, trying to use it more as a distraction than anything else, and perfectly works. She takes out the jammer. KotH completely distracted by that single tank, and the cost of one tank was KotH's jammer. However, all MsMinx has right now is a single Bertha cannon online. So even though there's no jammer protecting it, MsMinx just doesn't have that much artillery firing in the first place. Meaning that theoretically, even with so much more artillery, even without the jammer on KotH's side, because of all the artillery that he had out, he could technically still wind up doing more damage. But now KotH realizing his jammer was down, he deploys 2 now, so he has 1 in reserves. As you can see, he's got 1. Folks, it's right here. But the second one is hidden in here, in the trees, where you can't see it. That is another tactic that a lot of times the pros will use, is they'll use the scenery, they use the landscape to hide vital units out of the view of the opponents where they don't know that they're here. And now with those 2 jammers online, 6 arties firing in, and now 2 Bertha cannons about to go out, KotH feels the advantage. He's leapfrogging his units forward, and MsMinx's lines might start to crumble. MsMinx still only has that 1 Bertha cannon out, and that is it. She's got 1 Bertha cannon fighting 2 Berthas and 6 arties. The only potential thing that she has is the fact that KotH has so much of his upkeep diverted to artillery that if MsMinx would start to switch over from all of those ratchets to more tanks and just push forward, she might be able to crumble his entire lines because he doesn't have as many tanks defending it. But right now, ironically, because of the way that MsMinx devoted so much to the ratchets, even the tank count is in favor of KotH. KotH now massively exceeding MsMinx on the unit cap. They were equal for a while, but KotH brings out generators. And with those generators, that now allows him to outbuild MsMinx. MsMinx, realizing this, gets generators of her own online to counter this back. Neither one of them can really find the kill on the other one. Each one of them has only died once. This is literally going to come down to artillery fire. MsMinx's jammer is down. If she does not realize this, she will be obliterated in seconds with 6 arties and 3 Berthas firing in. She has not realized it yet. The jammer's still down. And all those artillery cannons are now 100% accuracy, and MsMinx's lines are crumbling. Completely crumbling, and unfortunately, still not realizing it, she's busy building tanks and pulling them back. She now finally realizes that she cancels out the rest of the tanks. She's trying to get that jammer online, but so much damage has been done. She's lost about 1/3 of her upkeep. Gets that jammer out online. It took so long to get it out that I don't know, guys. Right now, Quad Pro still has those 2 jammers online. He had one of them right up in the front area. He's moved so far up now against Minx. The jammer that she had online goes down once again. And now it's just going to wipe out everything. And I don't think, once again, I do not think she realizes that the jammer is gone yet. And because of that, everything is just being obliterated, folks. Unfortunately, I have to say it in an unfortunate way. In the current state of AirMech, if you're in a game that is going to have artillery battles, a jammer goes from just a nice unit to have to basically a required loadout. Does that mean that maybe some sort of balance needs to be done one way or another? Probably, because there should really never be a unit that is absolutely required, and without it you are basically guaranteed to lose. But in this case right now, with the way things are, jammers or Sonias as a spout off from them are essential units. You must have them. And we've seen it now 2 games in a row with Quad Pro. The second that the jammers go down, everything is just completely obliterated. Quad Pro feeling some advantage. He's pushing forward. Minx needs to try to save as many units as she can, so that way she just doesn't lose and feed all the units. She will lose. Alright, she does save at least that hat, so she only lost 1 tank in the process. Not as bad as it could have wound up being, but now we're going to have a whole new battle line being drawn right here. Quad Pro already bringing up the artillery cannons forward. Minx still no jammer online. So that means this Bertha cannon firing in 100% accuracy, and it will obliterate Minx's lines in seconds if Minxie does not get that jammer online. 3 tanks ready to go. She's now trying to get a jammer out, but it's just, I don't know, folks. It's not looking good here. 52 to 68 upkeep. Quad Pro very slowly, very efficiently, very methodically leapfrogging his units up little by little, inch by inch. That is the way to do it, folks. You don't just pick up your unit and fly it miles ahead of the other one. You move it up an inch, and then you move another one up an inch and an inch. And because of that, they're still all there, all supporting one another, and you're much less likely to actually lose those units. That is what leapfrogging is. The strategy is incredibly strong. It went out of style for a little while with other mechanics, but it is starting to come back. And as you can see, those that leapfrog are incredibly difficult to fight and deal with. Minx now basically got her butt pushed up against the wall. She's completely cut off from the bottom lane. I mean, just take a look at it right down here, folks. How do you break through that? I mean, it would take a push of about 3 times the size of this to break through, and Minx just does not have the upkeep for it. And unfortunately, with everything else, all that it'll take is just slowly withering away with these Bertha cannons firing in. If Minxie doesn't find some alternate method, some alternate strategy, her upkeep is matched to Pro. 16 Geminis to 20 Longhorns. It's all so equal on everything that basically what she needs to do is she needs to take advantage of Twin Peaks and use the twin aspect of it, meaning that there's this whole secondary lane. She's using 1 Bertha cannon right now, trying to clear out some of the neutrals, but this path right here is her only opportunity now. She is completely cut off from the bottom. There is no way through it. Quad Pro knows that he's pushing in. This could be a game-ending push if, though, Minx can find some way to survive this properly using the stasis blast. Like I just told you guys, as you see, you hit that stasis blast, it slows down the units, it slows down their rate of fire, it tries to give your units a little bit of a chance, but this is a significant all-in push. If Minx finds a way to survive this, it will cost Quad Pro everything and maybe give Minx a chance to come back into the battlefield. Unfortunately, though, all of her tanks are busy over here. She's got nothing here at her base, and Quad Pro, famous for his V-pathing, sets his tanks out on pathing movement, and unfortunately for Minx, huge for Quad Pro. Minxie goes down, killed by Quad Pro. A vital time for the kill that will probably secure Quad Pro the win, because right now there's just not much of anything else for Minxie to do it. She buys back. She gets back into the game as quickly as she can. She's trying to survive this. Fortunately, most of these tanks are not on Y because they're on the path. The tanks are prioritizing the creeps over the base, and it gives Minx an opportunity to get back in the game, spawn additional tanks, and maybe still survive this somehow. That, folks, is a drawback of the V-pathing. Because the tanks are on the path, they do not take priority targets of the fortress itself. And because those creeps come through, the tanks completely get distracted by the creeps. Can Minx use this to get back into the game? KotH trying to reestablish his secondary defense lines so that way Minxie cannot break through. She's still got to deal with this one tank still banging on her front door, causing about 50% damage. But whoa, crazy camera there. Sorry, folks. But now she sets up a whole secondary line, but she dies once again to KotH while KotH is pushing through his secondary push. Unfortunately, because of that, Minx will lose this whole secondary line of defenses. KotH decides this time not to push into the fortress, go up for the other outposts instead. Outpost completely undefeated. Without Minx in the game, she will lose that Bertha Cannon and the outpost, getting her completely bottlenecked in. Bertha Cannon goes down 868 experience points in favor of KotH. He now has the close outposts in his favor. Minxie needs to try to find some way to get back into this 22 to 38 upkeep. 12 Geminis out on the battlefield versus 6 Longhorns. Minxie landing behind the tanks, using the stasis blast, landing so close to the tanks, causes the tanks to prioritize her as a target instead of the other tanks, trying to give her tanks a chance to get in. But unfortunately, the heavy Minx stays too long, too much damage. The heavy flak is too much. She dies yet again. And with that death, that gives KotH a chance to completely clean this up and bring more of his own tanks online. He almost lost control of this outpost. A single creep keeps control of that outpost for him. Had he lost control of that outpost, who knows how it might have went. But man, just unbelievable game this whole way. 10 upkeep to 40 upkeep, 4-1 advantage for KotH. Yet still somehow Minx she doesn't still feel out of this yet. There still feels maybe there's a way if she can just find the right way to make things work to get back into this. Until KotH brings out that Bertha Cannon. He brought out that Bertha Cannon. It will cost Minx everything. And she realizes that she's going to move her tanks forward. 2 Bertha Cannons now out for KotH. She brings in those tanks. Oh, but she lands in Stasis Blast next to her own tanks instead of the enemy tanks. And with that, that gives the enemy tanks all they need to destroy him. Unfortunately, that Stasis Blast being off. And once again, she Stasis Blast by her own units. Maybe she had a little bit too much to drink right now. She's not able to identify her own color from her opponent's color. I don't know. But with those Stasis Blasts not on target, that costs Minx everything else that she has. 8 upkeep, 3,000 credits. KotH, 49 upkeep, 65,000 credits to his name. And this time, KotH is not even going to push in on the base. He's actually going to just artillery shell it from a safe distance instead, while he busy sets up his defensive line. Minx realizing there's not much she can do there. She's going to try to get this base online. She's just going to do what she can. I don't even see how much she can do here. So close to death. She needs to just at least heal up herself. Needs to be careful. Gemini's flying in here. But meanwhile, while all this is going on, KotH has those Bertha Cannons firing into Minx's base, doing damage. Minx loses control of this outpost, and KotH just right now with so much map control, so much resources available to him. It's just, there's nowhere Minxie can go to just find a foothold anywhere. After an unbelievable game, unbelievable try, in the end, it's just going to be this Bertha Cannon on this socket firing in that will spell Minxie's doom. That's all it's going to take in the end. Bertha Cannons. And as you know, when the artillery goes onto the sockets, they double shoot most of the time. KotH now finally moving in his tanks on a Y push this time. They will not worry about the creeps. They will focus on nothing but the base. Minxie was trying to build up a last line of defense, but it's just not enough. And in the end, it will be Quad Pro with 2 wins in 2 wins in a row, and continues on in his spot. Minxie, though, great game. Whew, man, that was just awesome, guys. Seriously, come on, give it up. Both of those players put on an amazing game. Show some OP love.